Welcome to Global IT Asset Inventory and Management. In this video, we'll discuss the sources of data collection that populate the Asset Inventory application. Global IT Asset Inventory gives you a comprehensive list of the assets detected in your environment. But the way in which those assets are detected varies. So it's not just one particular process or thing that is populating your asset inventory. It comes from various sensors. And we use the word sensors as sort of this general term that really means a mechanism for data collection, for data gathering, so that it can populate the asset inventory application, and so that then we can start normalizing and categorizing all of the data that we've detected using these sensors. The first sensor that you may be familiar with, maybe you've been using it a long time, it's the one that's been around the longest from the Qualys perspective. It's the scanner appliance. It's the network scanner. And using a network scanner, this is something that allows us to run a full assessment across an IP range or against a specific IP. So we can run authenticated scans and unauthenticated scans. We can deploy virtual or hardware appliances. They can be deployed in various locations across our environment. So that could mean within cloud architectures, within our corporate environment, right? So this allows us to establish a mechanism for not only discovering new assets, but also evaluating them for vulnerabilities and compliance data points and web application vulnerabilities. Now, taking this a step further, we have cloud agents. Cloud agents are very useful in helping us gather inventory. We can include them as part of our golden image within cloud architectures, so that anytime we spin up an instance off of an image, we'll know about that asset that's been deployed. We can deploy it on remote endpoints. So for those people within our organization who aren't always directly connected to the corporate environment, but maybe are out working within office spaces or within coffee shops, and we need to be sure that we have an idea of their vulnerability posture, and anytime they update their software list, maybe they're sitting in a specific location that isn't managed by your organization and they download a new piece of software, maybe we want to know about that. So the cloud agent enables an inventory. It tells us the basics about the host itself, things like its operating system, its host name, its IP information, active services, running services, right? So we can see all of that using the cloud agent. And we can even take that a step further, right? So not only are we gathering inventory, but we can also turn on additional features like vulnerability management. So we can gather vulnerabilities for that host, and we can gather compliance data points. So we can verify that it matches the policy we've established internally. We can also activate something called file integrity monitoring and indication of compromise. We can also do patch management, so we can actually deploy patches to those hosts where we've deployed Cloud Agent. As we continue on with this list of sensors, we can also use what's called a connector. Qualys uses connectors, which are basically calls into different cloud platforms that will give us an inventory of everything deployed there. So we'll have a list of what we've deployed, what assets have been deployed. We can see what things are running, what things have been terminated, so they're no longer running. And we'll be able to get that inventory and see it in one place in Global IT Asset Inventory. We can also deploy container sensors that give us information about what containers we have within our environment. There are additional sensors that can help us gather information about hosts that we couldn't do before. So now we have the ability to get visibility on our mobile devices, those mobile assets that are connecting and getting use of corporate assets. So for those of us who might have brought our own device to our organization and we're connecting to the VPN, we're checking our mail, we're checking our cloud drives that we might be using for the organization, right? Accessing corporate information. We need to be able to have visibility on those mobile devices. We need to be able to make sure that there's, a passcode sent. We need to make sure that they're not rooted. We have to be able to verify that a device can be reset remotely or restored to factory defaults if, say, it's lost or stolen. Passive sensor is another type which allows us to actively sniff our network. We can connect it up to a switch and see which devices are connecting to our corporate environment and how close are those assets that aren't managed to our vulnerable devices. We also can use out-of-band configuration assessment, which allows us to upload data for assets that we know about that we're not actively scanning. Maybe there's compliance reasoning as to why we can't actively scan a particular host. Maybe it's in an air-gapped network where we're not actually connecting to the internet in any place, and therefore we want to be able to take the config for this host and upload it to Qualys so that we can at least properly verify that it matches the compliance policy we've established for it. And so using all of these various sensors allows us to populate the data that we'll see in the global IT asset inventory application. So all of those sensors that you can deploy within your environment for various reasons will be populating the data into the global IT asset inventory application. So all of the data collected by these various sensors is populating into the Qualys platform, and you'll go to Global IT Asset Inventory to obtain that single source of truth for visibility. And Global IT Asset Inventory is going to take it a step further. So it's also going to categorize, normalize, and enrich the data. You'll have categorization levels for operating system, hardware, and software. You'll be able to see end of life and end of support hosts. You'll be able to see the license type for particular pieces of software. So is this commercial or is it open source? Different market versions and your manufacturers of the different types of hosts that you are deploying within your organization. When you land in Global IT Asset Inventory, which is under IT Operations, you'll find the very beginning landing page for gathering and getting a good inventory of the hosts within your organization. First, you'll find the Cloud Agent, and this is going to be the best way to get a good inventory of most of your assets in your organization. Because it can be deployed within your corporate architecture, because it can be deployed within cloud infrastructures, it's going to gather software information, asset information like the operating system, hardware, IP, MAC address, and then you can activate additional features in that Cloud Agent so that you can appropriately gather vulnerabilities and compliance posture as well as other things. It also will continually update the platform, so it'll evaluate that host several times a day. So you'll have an up-to-date view of a given host when deploying the Cloud Agent. You can simply click the button to install a new Cloud Agent, and you'll have an instructional video along with the different technologies where your agent can be deployed. Additionally, you can expand your inventory with other resources like a CMDB sync, mobile device summary, so if you're deploying secure enterprise mobility. You can also deploy connectors so you can get a good and thorough inventory containing metadata for your various cloud architectures. And you can deploy your passive sensors, which allow you to see those unmanaged assets, hosts that are connecting to your network that you might not know about. All of this, again, will populate into Global IT Asset Inventory. Thank you for watching this video on Global IT Asset Inventory.